This is RK News, recording live to Madison Square Garden, where Helena, famous actor and singer, is singing her brand new song, Have My Baby, reportedly based off of Baby Daddy Bertram. Let's go to the scene now.
My name's Helena, and I will be singing my brand new song, Have My Baby. This one goes out to you, Bertram. Okay. Hey, Bertram, I just met you, and this is crazy, but you're so sexy. Please have my baby.
This is it. Never, ever, ever again. It's a resounding no.
William Shakespeare, the incredible playwright, has numerous plays, sonnets, and poems that are recognized throughout the entire world. Though Shakespeare is known by many, his birth remains a mystery. There is no actual record of his birth. However, scholars believe it to be April 23, 1564, since his baptism was noted on April 26, 1564, at the Holy Trinity Church in Stratford-upon-Avon. William Shakespeare lived about 100 miles north of London, in the market town of Stratford-upon-Avon. His family consisted of two older sisters, Joan and Judith, who died shortly after birth, and three younger brothers, Gilbert, Richard, and Edmund. His father, John Shakespeare, was a leather merchant, a successful one at that, who also held positions of alderman and bailiff, and his mother, Mary Arden, was a local landed heiress to an area in Warwickshire. Unfortunately, his father's fortunes had started to decline somewhere near the 1570s. Although no records indicate what education Shakespeare had received, scholars have predicted that he went to the local grammar school, King's New School, where he was taught about reading, writing, and about the classics. It can also be assumed that he acquired free tuition as his father was a public official. On November 28, 1582, in Worcester, William Shakespeare married Anne Hathaway. He was only 18 while she was 26, and as it turns out, also pregnant. Their child, Susanna, was born 6 months later, and around 2 years after that, they had twins named Hamnet and Judith. Sadly, Hamnet died years later at the age of 11 from unknown causes. From the year 1585 to 1592, Shakespeare's life was not well documented. These are called the dark or lost years during his life. Historians surmise that he probably got well acquainted with accomplished theatrical groups and continued his way north to London. It is also generally believed that at London's finer theaters, Shakespeare worked as a horse steward from the mid to late 1580s. By 1592, there is finally evidence that he is making a living being an actor and also a playwright. Documents say that he was a managing partner in the Lord Chamberlain's Men, which was a big acting company in London. They soon changed their name to just the King's Men when King James was crowned. 15 of the 27 plays Shakespeare had written were already published by the year 1597. He spent most of his time in the city writing and away from his family, but he would go back to Stratford-upon-Avon to see them about once a year. He also got involved in real estate, making him an entrepreneur. The land continuously doubled in value each and every year, allowing him to earn £60 per year. Then, Shakespeare and his partners eventually could construct their own theater called the Globe. Most of his first plays were historical, like Richard II and Henry VI. Romeo and Juliet was one of the exceptions. He also enjoyed writing comedies, A Midsummer Night's Dream, Merchant of Venice, and As You Like It. In his later period of writing, he would write tragedies like Hamlet, Macbeth, and Othello. The characters would present the regular human temperament that is lasting and ubiquitous. Failure was also a common theme in the tragedies. Shakespeare's death is often believed to be on his birthday of the year 1616, but historians consider this as a myth since he was actually interred at Trinity Church on April 25th. Most of his possessions were bequeathed to his daughter, Susanna. His wife, Anne Hathaway, got 1/3 of his estate. The play All's Well That Ends Well that we will be focusing on today is a Shakespearean comedy that was primarily based off of Giovanni Boccaccio's Decameron, a marvelous medley of stories that contain love poems and copious amounts of dirty jokes. The play has a specific dark tone that aids it in being called a problem play or a problem comedy. It also bestows the least pragmatic happy ending, which explains why the play is not as popular as some of Shakespeare's other literature.
We will be performing Act 2, Scene 2 of All's Well That Ends Well, but first we need to give you the rundown of what happens before the scene starts.
Overall, the story begins with a poor girl named Helena, who falls deeply in love with the charming rich man of her dreams. He is the French Count of Rosillon, too, so why not fancy him? His name is Bertram. Because of Helena's not-so-rich family heritage, she has a slim to none chance of even being with Bertram. Another problem is that his mom, the Countess, is Helena's official guardian. The King of France invites Bertram to live with him in Paris. Unfortunately, the king appears to be extremely sick with a severe illness. Helena, daughter of the dead doctor, is asked to cure him as she has some of her father's leftover prescription drugs with step-by-step instructions. How convenient. He is so thankful for her help that he lets her choose anyone she wants for marriage. While Helena is in search of her perfect match after the King of France commends her the power to marry any man, the Countess and the clown are in a conversation of whether it is right for the clown to be able to marry. To make things clear, the Countess is the biological mother of Bertram and the self-supposed mother or guardian of Helena. She loves Helena more than her own son. When Bertram treats Helena with disgrace, she is quick to denounce his irrational behavior. The clown is the palace's messenger, and he is mostly a side character that is obsessed with getting permission to marry his significant other. The clown also loves to use sexual humor, which is present in the scene we are going to be acting out. When the Countess really wants the simple answers, the clown provides dirty comedy to provide comic relief between the two scenes.
Come on, sir. I shall put you to the height of your breeding.
I will show myself highly fed and lowly taught. I know my business is but to the court.
To the court? Why, what place make you special when you put off that with such contempt? But to the court?
Truly, madame, if God have lent a man any manners, he may easily put it off at court. He that cannot make a leg, put off his cap, kiss his hand, and say nothing, has neither leg, hands, lip, nor cap, and indeed such a fellow, to say precisely, were not for the court, but for me, I have an answer will serve all men.
Mary, that's a bountiful answer that fits all questions.
It's like a barber's chair that fits all buttocks. The pin buttock, the quatch buttock, the brown buttock, or any buttock.
Will your answer serve to fit all questions?
As fit as 10 groats is for the hand of an attorney, as your French crown for your taffeta punk, as Tibbs rush for Tom's forefinger, as a pancake for Shrove Tuesday, a Morris for May Day, as the nail to his hole, the cuckold to his horn, as a scolding queen to a wrangling knave, as the nun's lips to the friar's mouth, nay, as the pudding to his skin.
Have you, I say, an answer of such fitness to all questions?
From below your duke and beneath your constable, it will fit any question.
It must be an answer of most monstrous size, that must fit all demands.
But a trifle neither, in good faith. If the learned should speak truth of it, here it is, and all that belongs to it. Ask me if I am a courtier, it shall do you no harm to learn.
Oh, to be young again, if we could. I will be a fool in questioning, hoping to be wiser by your answer. I pray you, sir, are you a courtier?
Oh, Lord, sir, there's a simple putting off. More, 100 of them.
Sir, I'm a poor friend of yours that loves you.
Oh, Lord, sir, thick, spare not me.
I think, sir, you can eat none of this homely meat.
Oh, Lord, sir, nay, put me to it, I warrant you.
You were lately whipped, sir, as I think.
Oh, Lord, sir, spare not me.
Do you cry, O Lord, sir, at your whipping, and spare not me? Indeed, your O Lord, sir, is very sequent to your whipping. You would answer very well to a whipping if you were but bound to it.
I never had worse luck in my life in my, O Lord, sir. I see things may serve long, but not serve ever.
I play the noble housewife with the time, to entertain so merrily with a fool.
O Lord, sir, why there it serve well again.
An end, sir, to your business. Give Helen this, and urge her to a present answer back. Commend me to my kinsman and my son. This is not much.
Not much commendation to them.
Not much employment for you understand me?
Most fruitfully, I am there before my legs.
Haste you again.
When the scene changes back to Paris, Helena officially chooses Bertram to be her wedded husband. He is completely mortified by the situation and throws a childish tantrum while also refusing to have sex with Helena. He escapes the marriage, or trap as he might say, by joining the military in Florence, Italy, and sending his quote-unquote wife back to Rusillon with his mother. Bertram promises her that he will arrive about 2 days later, so Helena happily complies with his request. While patiently waiting for her loved one, Helena receives a letter from Bertram saying how much he hates her and how he will never be with her unless she gets the ring off his finger and gets pregnant with his child. Helena is hopeless and her feelings are crushed. She decides to take off on a pilgrimage to St. Jacques in Spain to pray for a miracle of getting him back. While Bertram is in Florence, he meets a girl by the name of Diana. She is an innocent virgin Italian girl, and Bertram is on the waiting list. Throughout the story, he continuously tries to seduce her. Diana's mother reminds her that those kind of boys are bad news. Diana is first reluctant, but always says no like her mother tells her to. Thankfully for Helena, as she winds up in Paris instead of the shrine in St. Jacques. Bertram continues to seduce innocent Italian girls when Helena coincidentally meets Diana and gives her all the details of what Bertram has done and hatches a plan to get him back. Helena convinces Diana to ask for his ring in trade for sex that he has always wanted. Diana at first hates this idea, but Helena then explicates that while they are in the bedroom, there will be a quick switch and Helena will take over. Then she would take her ring and put it on his own finger during the encounter, so it would be made to look like she was there. To make things more interesting, Helena creates a rumor that she died of a broken heart. Bertram is full of excitement and he rushes back to his home where he is going to get engaged to a different woman. Although the king notices Helena's ring on his hand and assumes Bertram murdered his wife. Diana also steps into the picture and accuses him of taking advantage of her the night before. When he thought matters couldn't be worse, Bertram sees Helena with his ring and a larger belly. He immediately understood what happened and, miraculously, promised her that he will forever be a good husband to her.
End of story. That's it. I'm serious. Least expected happily ever after. I mean, clearly the story carries out various obstacles for Helena to face, such as a king who is dying from the illness known as fistula, or an abnormal connection between two body parts, get the ring off Bertram's finger, and trick the same guy into sleeping with her and getting pregnant. The plot is cumbersome that mixes with a woman's feelings, the war, and dirty jokes, along with humorous trickery, but overall it is a good play.
The scene we selected to perform is important because it shows an example of a theme we will discuss later: society and class. In the scene, the Countess, a noble woman, talks with a low-birth clown. The Countess treats the clown poorly and speaks to him disdainfully. Here's the first line of the scene, for example. "Come on, sir, I shall now put you to the height of your breeding." The Countess is telling the clown that she's about to give him a job that's almost way too noble for someone like him to do. She also threatens him several times with taking away his food or his employment. This interaction is odd because the Countess is totally cool with Helena, a peasant, marrying her son. She even supports her efforts and gets mad when her son doesn't reciprocate Helena's actions. This scene is also important because it provides the comedic relief this play needs with all the turmoil going on. And the risque humor used by the clown helps you to remember that this play is a comedy, and is not supposed to be totally serious. At first glance, the themes of all's well that ends well seems to be that noblemen are jerks, women are manipulative, and that getting pregnant is all you have to do to get your husband to love you. With a little more research and understanding of the book, however, the actual themes of this book can be found. The first major theme we'll be discussing is gender. All's Well That Ends Well challenges traditional 16th and 17th century ideas on gender. The typical gender roles found in fairy tales are reversed when Helena takes on the masculine role in pursuit of Bertram, instead of the other way around. Another major theme is the idea of society and class. Helena, a poor and low-class woman, wants to marry Bertram, a rich nobleman who thinks she is too low-born for him. The traditional idea of marrying below one's social class is generally taboo. However, All's Well That Ends Well challenges that notion, with the repeated message that Helena's true value is in her virtue, and not her social standing. The last theme we will discuss in All's Well That Ends Well is sex. All's Well That Ends Well has your reputation for being one of Shakespeare's most sexually charged dramas, which makes totally sense when you read the book. The topic of female sexuality is constantly under scrutiny. Almost every character has some form of discussion on when a woman should lose her virginity. Men haven't totally been left out of the discussion, though. They are depicted to be total pigs when it comes to sex in this book. Sorry guys, Shakespeare wrote this book. I just read it. Bertram refuses to sleep with his wife, however is totally down to cheat on her with a woman named Diana. It all backfires though when he accidentally sleeps with his own wife anyways. All's Well That Ends Well features a story of the ages. A man sets his eye on a woman and fights hard to get her. However, this time the story is reversed with the woman fighting to court the man. Shakespeare's reversal of the story gives a new perspective that is a breath of fresh air. This play also asks important questions on female sexuality, male masculinity, and social standings. Shakespeare experts like Barbara A. Mowat and Paul Werstein, editors of All's Well That Ends Well with detailed explanatory notes, describe the play as, "The play tells Helena's fairy tale story of incredible challenges met and overcome. Though few today will see a fairy tale ending at the conclusion of her journey. The difficulty to find the fairy tale ending can be explained by understanding how All's Well That Ends Well is grouped. All's Well That Ends Well is generally grouped as a comedy, however it is often also grouped with other Shakespearean plays that are called problem plays. These problem plays include Measure for Measure, Troilus and Cressida, and All's Well That Ends Well. These plays do not easily fit into any genre due to the fact that they raise numerous questions about their supposed happy endings. In the ending of All's Well That Ends Well, Helena gets the man of her dreams. But how can Bertram ever love the woman who forced him into marriage? Both Nikki and I have similar personal reactions to All's Well That Ends Well. We found All's Well That Ends Well to be quite different from the plays we have previously read in school: Macbeth, Romeo and Juliet, and now Hamlet. Macbeth, Hamlet, and Romeo and Juliet are tragedies that have considerable violence and have at least one character die. Before reading All's Well That Ends Well, both Nikki and I expected to read just another tragedy of Shakespeare's because that is all we have ever read. However, All's Well That Ends Well is a comedy that features no violence and no death. Everything turns out in the end. The only thing we found to be similar between the four plays is that they all contain elements of royalty. In more regards to All's Well That Ends Well, both Nikki and I think the ending doesn't really make any sense. Bertram does a complete 360 at the end and promises to love Helena. How could Bertram ever love the woman who swindled and forced him into marriage? Even with that one fallback, we both would definitely recommend anyone to read All's Well That Ends Well.